Welcome everyone to High Heel Diaries talk show. I'm your host Natalie Wilson, and I want to thank you for following me on my journey of inspiring women one story at a time. Today I am so excited to have my good friend Miss Queen of Swag, Georgia, also known as Miss Sutra, Reggae Sutra. She's here to open up about a very real part of her life, something that she hasn't spoken about before. We're very close, so I do know about it, and she's at a point in her life right now where she wants to talk about it. It's her story with Crohn's disease. So welcome, Georgia. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
This is something that I think is really important to get out there, because like you've been dealing with it and didn't want to talk about it for a long time, but it's something that needs to be said.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's not only something that needs to be said, but when people hear about it, they're going to say to themselves, you know what? She looks so strong. She's been dealing with this. I didn't know. Mm-hmm. But she's talking about it, and it might inspire other people to do the same. And as we all know, that my journey has been long, and until I started speaking about things and opening up about it, I didn't realize how much it could help talking about it. So I hope in the end that's what everybody gets from this.
I hope so too.
Yeah. So, I want to start off by saying we get a lot of, you guys look alike, you are that your twin sister?
Yeah.
Right? So
and I couldn't be more proud to have someone say that I look like you. So.
So funny, we do a lot of things that we don't even realize we're doing that are similar, and we've had a lot of similar circumstances in life, mm-hmm. Personal and otherwise. And so I'm thanking you for your support of me, and I want you to know that I'm always here for you.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about this. This is real. So tell the viewers more about what Crohn's disease is.
Okay, so Crohn's disease it's an inflammatory bowel disorder. So basically what happens is your entire GI tract or gastrointestinal tract can have Crohn's disease, and your GI tract runs from your mouth to your anus. You can have Crohn's anywhere along the way.
Right, okay.
The most common place to have Crohn's is what's the end of the small intestines, mm-hmm. which is called your terminal ileum. So it's the end of the small intestine, beginning of the large intestine, or the colon, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's where I have my Crohn's. Mm-hmm. It's in the terminal ileum. And of course your appendix, there's a lot of things around there and whatnot. So anyhow, your intestines become inflamed, and that inflammation is what causes a lot of problems. Mm. Problems such as severe diarrhea, mm-hmm. a lot of abdominal pain. Right. There's cramping. There's just all kinds of discomfort. It can be very debilitating as well. Right. Yeah, yeah.
So when you're home, when you're not out and about in your home, you're dealing with a lot more than what people understand you be dealing with.
Yes. So I can go to the washroom upwards of 20 times a day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't imagine.
Yeah. It's you know what it's
what you know. It's what you know. I know. It's what you know. Right? Don't do that.
Sorry, this is really hard.
I know.
Because I'm not used to talking about this like this.
But this is it. This is it, and this is real. This is life, and that's what people need to see.
And I get judged a lot, but people don't understand what's going on inside of me.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyhow, so people will look at the outside and say, "Well, you look great." But
and this is it. Yeah, exactly. This is why this is part of why I'm doing this, because you get judged, you get looked at, people make assumptions. And that's what happens when women walk strong, look good, deal with things appropriately on the road.
Yes.
They
carry yourself a certain way.
Yes. They assume you're okay. Then if something goes wrong, they make judgments, they say things, but not knowing what you're dealing with and what's going on at home.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like as if they live in glass houses, and if you throw a stone in a glass house, what's going to happen?
It's going to break.
The glass is going to break.
Yeah.
So people need to be very careful of what they say and who they talk about and things, because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
So that's a topic for another day. let's get through this information about Crohn's. So I know it's very emotional. I know it's going to be hard for you to get through this, but I want you to know that I appreciate you and I appreciate the fact that you're doing this right now. Because guess what? It's a healing process for you, and it's going to be something that people are going to look at and say, you know what? They might change their ways of doing things.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
You never know.
So let's talk. So tell me more about when you were diagnosed with Crohn's.
Well,
and your reaction to it all, and your family's reaction to it all.
Okay. I wasn't actually diagnosed right away. It just started out where I was feeling slight pain.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a pain, it was a sort of a slight feeling right here in the center of my abdomen.
Like discomfort, like what can you equate
It almost,
it to?
the only thing I can equate it to in the beginning was sort of a butterfly feeling, which butterfly feeling is not a pain, but it was something that was noticeable to me, and it kept progressing to where it got to be a pain. Like,
drink some water, girl.
Yeah. Where it became painful. So I kept going to the doctor, and I kept saying, you know, there's something wrong, something wrong. He would send me, before he sent me for tests, he would just give me all these different medications. Here, take this. Oh, you have an ulcer. But no tests have been done. So fast forward, this pain just keeps getting more and more excruciating. And I remember about 2 months before I actually had surgery, he sent me for a complete workup at Scarborough General Hospital. Long story short, everything came back negative, and I'll never forget this.
That seems so common.
Yeah, and he told me that the pain was in my head.
Really?
Fast forward 2 months later, I believe it was August 28th of 1995, my intestine perforated and nearly killed me.
Oh, God.
I ended up in emergency. They took me right in, operated on me. The doctors, well, the first thing they did was a blood test, and all the doctor said to me was, we know your body is fighting a very serious infection right now. We don't know what it is. We're going to call the surgeon. And the surgeon came down, and he said, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to put you under, put a camera in your belly button, look around and see what's going on, because we don't know what's happening, but we have to get you in surgery right now because my white blood cells were so high, they were off the charts. Wow. So I'm in danger at this point. When I woke up from surgery was probably 3 hours long. I woke up, all I heard was Crohn's disease. Oh, I didn't know what that was. And then I was so drugged.
Have you ever heard about it before?
No, never heard about it. But I was so heavily drugged that when he said Crohn's, I remember just passing out. I kept passing for about 3-4 days in the hospital. I kept passing out. So anyways, my husband at the time would explain to me everything that the doctors would say, sort of in between being, awake and whatnot. So that was my first thing. So they removed 2 feet of my small intestines.
Oh. And an intestine is how long?
About 19 or 20 feet.
Okay.
So they took 2 feet right away. I remember the surgeon said to me, that is the worst form of Crohn's disease I've ever seen. Wow. And he told me at that point, he said, I could have died easily, because what happened was, the reason I was getting all that pain, and when I got to hospital, my abdomen was very distended. My intestine actually perforated. So it broke, like a hole broke in my intestine. And what happens is all the bacteria goes into your abdomen, and then that can cause other problems. Wow. So, anyhow, that was my first experience with Crohn's. So what do you think? Okay, so now you come to, you are not under drugs anymore, maybe weeks later, and you are diagnosed with this. Right. What is your take on it? What are you thinking? Yeah. I was totally confused.
You had young children.
Yes, my first daughter was born at the time. She was almost 2. I had the surgery in August, her birthday's in October, so she was almost 2. I couldn't lift my child. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't walk.
Yeah, this is your new reality.
Right. I had to sleep on a lawn chair for 3 months in an upright position, because getting in and out of a bed when they cut through your stomach is just a really tough thing. Yeah. Anyhow.
Abdominal surgery is ridiculous.
Yeah. So then I had to learn how to eat. And
we're going to get there, because I want to talk about diet and all that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just, everything was just, it was like I was dropped in the middle of an ocean, and they said, you got to swim, learn, find your way home to shore. I had no clue what was going on. No clue. I just knew I was in a lot of pain. I had lost a lot of weight, and I knew I was very sick.
So for instance, what was your weight before you went to the hospital, and you said you lost a lot of weight? What did you go down to?
I went down, I was very tiny. I'm naturally petite, so I was very tiny at the time, but I was back then.
Yeah, that's why you always wear on heels. You are petite.
Yeah. So back then I was about 118 pounds.
Yeah.
And I went down to about 100 pounds.
Wow.
Like soaking wet. I was tiny. Like very skinny.
This is from, of course, because of surgery. And usually you can't eat properly because of surgery. But then on top of that, this actual problem is stopping you from eating certain foods and eating the way you like to eat.
Exactly.
And
I mean,
probably more liquids and, right? Like, how are you eating?
Just
what
nothing.
changed?
I literally ate nothing. I had no appetite whatsoever. So leading up to the surgery, I had no appetite. My husband kept trying to force food down my throat. Nothing. After surgery, I still couldn't eat. The 7 days I spent in hospital, I lost 14 pounds just in the 7 days.
So that was your first surgery.
That was my first one.
Tell me a little more about, I mean, I know you've had more because in the time that I've known you, the 4 or 5 years, I know you've been in and out of the hospital. I mean, gosh, I've had 16 surgeries, and I'm sure that yours is close to there, not the surgeries, but at least the amount of times you've been in and out of the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We could be talking one day, and the next day you're, oh, I just got out of the hospital. Right? And that's your life. That's your
my life.
reality.
That's my reality. And, you know, I live with it. So what
are some of the other surgeries that you've had? So I know you've had more than just that initial one, which was in 95?
1995.
Okay.
7 weeks after I had that surgery, my gallbladder malfunctioned. So because of the Crohn's, because the part of that terminal ileum that I told you about, that part is responsible for two things: absorbing B12 and absorbing bile salts. So bile is basically what makes your feces brown. That's what bile does.
Okay.
So and
I'm getting some education here.
So anyways, with the terminal ileum gone, I can no longer do that. I can't absorb bile salts. So what happens? It just goes right through me. So that contributes to diarrhea as well. So my diarrhea is twofold: Crohn's and has to do with this whole bile salt thing.
Right.
And I have to get B12 shots every month for the rest of my life because I can develop a fatal anemia if I don't, called pernicious anemia. So anyway, so I had to have the gallbladder taken out, and because I was still so weak from the first surgery, because at the time, back in 95, they had just started removing gallbladders through the belly button. Okay. For me though, they cut me. They had to cut me, and they kept me in the hospital, I think, another 5 days. I'd lost even more weight at this point. At this point, I'm maybe now 95 pounds. Like, I'm just wasting away. And so that was...
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so that was 95. Let's see, fast forward now to 2005.
Sometimes it's hard to keep track, eh?
It is, yeah. I had a second bowel resection, which is where they cut the intestine. So I had a major Crohn's flare-up.
Okay, I was going to say it was because of a flare-up?
Yes, Crohn's flare-up. And so in November 2005, I had to get it cut again. But also, too, the other problem was you develop strictures inside your bowel.
What's this?
Strictures, scar tissue, basically. Okay. So it narrows your bowel. So if your bowel is this wide, food and things have to pass through it. When you get strictures, the opening is narrowed, so it's harder for things to go through.
Yeah, I get it.
You can end up with a bowel blockage, which, funny enough, I had that a few days ago. So it happens, right? So mine was so strictured that, and I was flaring at the same time, they had to cut it. And cutting your intestine is the last resort. Doctors do not like to cut your intestine, because the more they cut is the more problems you get into.
Which you've had twice now.
I've had it twice. So I've had about 3.5 feet removed so far.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure you don't want to have that surgery. You said is very difficult.
Very difficult.
I mean, I know.
Very painful.
Yeah.
Recovery time was intense. Like, it took 1 year each time for me to fully recover.
Wow, and that's the last resort, but you've had to have it twice.
Twice. And the more you have surgery is the more chance you're going to have surgery. So, so basically, a major flare that I had not too long ago, 2 surgeons came to see me in the hospital, and they said, you cannot afford to have a third surgery right now. Like, you cannot do a third surgery. Yeah. You'll be in problems, right?
Yeah.
So they tried to get me to do other treatments and whatnot, but I refused the treatment only because
Is it medication? Is it a
it's called Remicade. They're infusions, so they put you in the hospital, give you an IV, and they inject you with this medication. It's basically a very potent anti-inflammatory, and it can put your Crohn's into remission.
So now this was something like, I don't want to, something that they were recommending for you. I'm not sure that that's something that's for everybody, but that in your instance where you were at that point, that was something they
recommended for me because they were saying you cannot do a third surgery at all costs.
Right.
But I turned it down just because in November 2010 I had to have my spleen taken out.
Gosh, girl. Wow.
Yeah.
So do you have a gallbladder? What
I don't have a
gallbladder.
I don't have a gallbladder. I don't have a spleen. I don't have an appendix. And I don't have 3.5 feet of my small intestines. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's why I'm small.
That's crazy.
Sorry, I have to laugh at it sometimes.
You don't. I know sometimes
it's hard.
Trust me, you have to make light of some things because otherwise, if you were to think about the gravity of your situation, you'd be in the the insane asylum.
The psych ward. Yeah.
Trust me, yes. I know.
It's funny you say that because a lot of doctors, when I go to see these big specialists downtown, the first thing they say to me, "You look great." That's the first thing these doctors say. And this one doctor in particular at Mount Sinai, I will never forget, he said, "Well, you look great. Well, there's nothing wrong with you."
Okay.
That's the first thing he said. I said, "Well, I wouldn't be here if there was nothing wrong with me."
But as a doctor to say something like that to me, that's just silly.
Some of them have no bedside manners, right? Which
how you look on the outside can reflect. I mean, I believe in this.
It can,
because you know how I talk about the fact that the whole look good, feel better thing. Like you take care of yourself and you look good. It can transpire into how you feel inside because a lot of recovery. Right. Half the battle is having a positive attitude, and when you look better and you feel better, sometimes it just, like I said, transcribes into how you feel internally. But medically speaking, it's not going to take care of your issue. Right. Obviously.
So, like for instance, I'm flaring right now. Right. I'm having a Crohn's flare right now. You can't see that on the outside. No. But if I let that flare go and just not tend to it, it will gradually progress, and then you will start seeing it on the outside because I will start to lose a lot of weight. Yeah. I just will start to look sick. I'll have no glow in my skin, nothing. I'll look sort of gray. Like it's weird.
Well, it's like because you go to the bathroom so many times, and you probably a lot of what you intake that's supposed to be good for you, is coming out. Right out.
Like vegetables are supposed to be good for you.
Almost immediately.
That just goes right through me.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we are talking a lot about how it's affecting your daily life, but tell me more. Okay, so you're in a public line of work.
Yes.
And you're out and about a lot of times throughout the evenings mostly. Tell me about some of your daytimes. You wake up and you're home. Okay. What is your day like?
I spend a lot of my day on the toilet a lot, to be honest. So mornings are really bad for me. That's the worst time of day. Anytime from the time I wake up until noon, 1 o'clock.
So that's when it kind of flares up more for you?
It's not a flare. Oh. It's just diarrhea. It's really...
But even if you haven't eaten?
Even if I haven't eaten. Wow. I can go to the washroom probably 5-6 times before I've even had breakfast.
And you haven't even had breakfast?
And I haven't had breakfast yet.
So I can imagine when you do have breakfast.
Then it just sets me off.
Yeah, right.
So for me to get up and leave my house in the morning, that gives me major anxiety. Because what I have to do is plan to leave. Like let's say I have a doctor's appointment downtown and it's, I don't know, I have to be there 8 o'clock or whatever. I would have to get up around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, try to clear the bowels. Then I have to start popping Imodium, and I usually take about 6 to 8 Imodium before I leave the house, and that still doesn't stop. It gives me a little bit of security, just a little bit.
So I was going to say, taking Imodium, like any other drug, when you take too much of it, sometimes your body becomes resistant to it. Is that?
Well, it's interesting because that's what I thought. Yeah. I did ask my Crohn's doctor. He said no. Yeah. Do I believe him? No. But at this point, I don't do it all the time. I only take that much Imodium when I have to be somewhere in the morning. Okay. Right. So just being home all day, no, I'm not taking Imodium. Yeah. Because I can just, go. So that in itself is difficult.
Okay. So what about we love to eat?
Yeah.
We both come from Jamaican backgrounds, so our families love to eat.
Anyone who knows me, I love my belly.
Right? So tell me about that. When you go out and, you know, enjoy some good food, like,
it's a problem.
Do you suffer through it
Yes.
after, or do you do something beforehand in order to enjoy that and be okay thereafter?
I do so I take Imodium before,
Right.
Which causes a lot of bloating for me because I'm used to getting it out. So when I take the Imodium, everything is still in there, so I feel really bloated and whatnot. But for me to be able to go out and enjoy myself like that, it's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
That's what I have to do. So I do that, and then usually when I get home, first thing is just, it's, you know when you have to pee really badly, and as soon as you're at the door trying to put the key in the door,
Yeah.
it's like you're going to pee your pants? That's how I feel, and I have to just run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But
Do you have to be, okay, so I understand that certain foods you probably shouldn't eat, but you know, we want to enjoy our life, and
Yes.
sometimes we just
Yes.
do it anyways.
Yeah.
As far as foods that you should be intaking, are there certain restrictions that the doctor would say, Georgia, don't eat or eat more of?
Well, unfortunately, medical doctors
Yeah.
don't take that naturopathic approach. So
Right.
that's sort of the problem. So I've had to educate myself on the whole diet thing and whatnot.
Okay, so what have you learned that way then?
Well, basically what I've learned is when I'm flaring, I have to eat more of the simple carbs. So instead of brown rice or whole grain pasta, eat white rice because it's
Binds you?
it's easily digested.
Oh, I see.
Right? Whereas the other stuff, and this is only when I'm flaring. The other stuff, your body has to work a little hard. That's why it's good for everybody else, because your body is working harder to break it down. But when my intestines are inflamed and infected and all of that, you don't want all of that. You want everything to be as smooth as possible, because all that roughage and irritation and all of that is not good for the intestines.
Okay.
Right? And that causes pain, gas, bloating, more diarrhea. So for me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I have to, and fats as well. My body doesn't, so with Crohn's, you don't, because you're having so much diarrhea, you're not absorbing all the nutrients from your food.
Yeah, of course, because it's passing right through you. Yeah.
Right, so you're dehydrated, you're fatigued, you're like, you can be malnourished as well. A lot of people just don't eat because of it, because there's so much pain and cramping, right, and gas and bloating and whatnot. So what I did, like I said, I educated myself. I bought a book years ago, and it was written by a doctor whose daughter had colitis. So Crohn's and colitis are similar diseases. Colitis affects the colon only.
Okay, I was going to ask you the difference there. Okay.
Right.
All right.
And this doctor wrote this book, and she had all these amazing recipes. I still have that book until today. So I took it upon myself to eat that way, which basically is the way diabetics eat.
Okay.
That basically is the same diet and whatnot. It worked. I have to admit it worked. However, it's extremely hard to eat like that. People who are competing in fitness competitions and trying to shed body fat and weight and all that, they eat that way as well.
Okay.
So it's very clean eating.
Right.
Like for instance, instead of spaghetti and meatballs, I would have, my spaghetti would be spaghetti squash, so the noodles would be from the spaghetti squash, and so I get my carbs that way.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was very tough.
Clean eating, but kind of yucky eating.
Yes, very hard to stick to.
Yeah, right?
But I found a way. I found a way to.
Yeah, you end up liking those things.
Right.
You end up, because it's something that is necessary for you. You learn to, okay, this is how I have to eat, whether or not it's great tasting or not, whether or not I can put certain seasonings or pepper sauce on it. You do what you got to do.
Pepper sauce is not good for me, but I love my pepper sauce.
Me too.
Yes, but the problem with that, the other problem was I couldn't gain an ounce of weight. I was skinny, and at the time I was working full time downtown for a major bank, and none of my suits fit me. I had to go to Gap Kids. And
what? To buy your clothes?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was size 14 in Gap Kids.
Wow.
Yep, I would buy pants and little shirts because there was nothing else. When I started to put on a little bit of weight, I remember I was searching for pants because I just couldn't find proper dress pants. And I just happened to go into Sirens, and I found a size 00. I had never heard of a 00 in my life. I bought it was only probably 3 pairs. I bought all 3 because I needed something.
Yes.
And I remember there was this one guy I used to take the GO train with, just a friend of mine. And we took the same train every morning. And I didn't tell him what was going on, but I just remember him saying to me, girl, you need to put on some weight. You don't look sexy at all. But
little did he know.
right.
Once again, you know, ignorance.
True. And I don't blame him because he didn't know, right?
Not ignorance in a bad way, but just ignorance you don't know, right?
Right. And you don't tell everybody your intimate story, right?
Yeah.
And I've had other things because when I'm flaring, they put you when you have a flare, they put you on steroids. And these are not anabolic steroids.
Right.
They're corticosteroids. Anyhow, and so the main one, the most popular one, is prednisone. People who have arthritis will go on prednisone. And any inflammatory condition, they put you on prednisone. Well, prednisone makes you fat.
It bloats you.
It bloats you. Your first thing is your face gets really fat and wide.
Yeah.
Then when you've been on it for a while, it actually increases your body fat because it makes you eat like crazy. Like, I just kept doing this, and I was on it for about 8 months.
Right.
I put on 15 pounds. And I'm not used to that.
Right.
We call it vanity. I don't know,
but that was a good thing though for you. Was it at that time you needed to put some weight on? Like, not that you want to put on that kind of weight that way, but brought your weight up a little bit.
Brought my weight up a little bit, yeah. But then, so now I have weight on now, because just the last few times that I've been on prednisone, it's put that weight on. I just haven't lost it. And really and truly, I don't think I want to. I don't want to be a size 0.
No.
I have no interest in being a size 0.
You're
I think I'm a 4.
Woman.
Yeah, I think I'm a size 4 right now. So I don't need to be. Anyhow, prednisone, it can be dangerous as well. It played with my mind. It gave me some psychotic symptoms as well. So I don't like it. So I choose to go on another one called Entacort. That's the one it's not as effective, but maybe call it vanity. I just don't want to put on all the weight.
Right, of course. And we're talking about weight and vanity, and I know that you're not. Tell me a little bit about self-image. So you know that you're dealing with this.
Yeah.
It is very personal. Like I said, you're out in the public eye, but then you go home. I know, like me, when I'm out on the road, very strong.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Very, yeah.
And I'm good now with my body. You having gone through the breast cancer and losing a breast, I now am at a stage where I can look at myself and be okay.
Right.
Now, going through what you're going through, because I can't say that having gone, because you're still dealing with it. It's still something that you deal with.
It's chronic, which means there's no cure.
Okay, there's no cure.
So I'll deal with it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Until they find a cure.
So you have these thoughts about yourself, you know, when you're in your dark moments, because we all have them. Like, do you just feel like, I'm not attractive, or I have this issue, and who can find me attractive? Do you, intimacy wise, for instance, like, do you have concerns that way?
Not now, but when I was married before, and so when I was diagnosed with the Crohn's and whatnot, my husband at the time was amazing. Like, he took care of me. Sorry, this makes me cry because I don't think, even though we're divorced, I don't think I ever gave him enough credit. Yeah. This man took care of me when I couldn't walk. I could barely talk. He was just there for me. Yeah. And I look back and I don't know what I would have done without him.
Yeah. It's okay though. You can say thank you now.
Right. And I just want to say, Rick, thank you. Like, honestly, I know I probably haven't, but you're amazing. And he's an amazing person. Up to this day, he's an amazing person. He's an amazing dad. Yeah. I love him for who he is. Yeah. Okay. So I had to get that out of the way.
Good. I'm so happy. Rick, if you see me on the road, just say shout out, because I got her to say thank you. No.
Yeah. Amazing guy.
No. Yeah, but sometimes it takes a lot of time before you can turn around and realize those things.
Right.
You may be divorced now, but it had nothing to do with that.
No, it had nothing to do with nothing.
And you certainly have to give props and thank you and appreciation to that.
And those times when I was really skinny, he didn't look at me any differently. And the times when I was really fat, like from the medication, again, he didn't look at me any differently. So he made me feel so comfortable. Although,
because he loved you, he cared about you. Yeah, it was more than
he was more concerned for my health. Right?
Absolutely.
So in the beginning, I was harder on myself because, especially when I was really skinny. As a woman, we have certain assets and whatnot that we like, that women should have, and I had none of those. Yeah, I had none of those. I lost everything. My breasts, my hips, my bum, everything was gone.
Well, you're certainly making up for it. So we've talked a lot about some of the things you've gone through, the hard times, emotional times, the physical aspects of it all. Tell me how you've overcome a lot of these obstacles, and, you know, or are you still dealing with them? Like, I know that you are, but just tell me more about some of those obstacles and how you are dealing with it, how you're overcoming them.
So I think the first part that I overcame was just not being ashamed.
Right.
And just being able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the hardest things for me, to just, who wants to talk about how many times
Yeah.
I go to the washroom?
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite personal.
It's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, even though I've overcome that, I have to sometimes be careful who I'm talking to
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm saying, because they may not be comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. True,
So,
true. That's a good angle.
Yeah.
Very true.
yeah, so I have to be very, cognizant of
Yeah.
all that, because some people just will get grossed out at that kind of talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I admit I can be very nonchalant about it, because I'm just so over it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's almost 20 years
Right.
dealing with it, right?
I'm dealing with it, right.
Yeah.
And I was pretty young at the time, so
Or over 20 years.
yeah, but now at this age,
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
And this is my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I always say God only gives his battles to his strongest soldiers, and there's a reason why I have this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a higher purpose.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep.
But there's a reason why I've experienced all of this, and honestly, I think it's made me a better person.
Yeah.
And I refuse to let this disease define me.
Right.
It has made me who I am, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and you have to go through, I always say, you're not just dropped here on earth and said, this is your life,
Yeah.
and it's going to be like this even keel all along.
Exactly.
For the whole time.
There are going to be
You're
bumps.
it's planned out, and you're going to have a ton of bumps and
Yeah.
bruises and scrapes, some more serious than others, but it's going to make you who you will be later down the road.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I truly believe in that.
Yeah.
Because you have to go through, how do you know how to be sympathetic and empathetic with
Right.
some other person's situation?
Exactly.
Because you may have gone through it.
Right. Exactly.
You have to go through some hard times
Yeah.
in order to get there, right?
But to that note as well, there is an opposite side to that. So the other side is people look at me as, like we were talking, like I'm so strong and this and that. And,
soldier. Mm-hmm.
right, and I actually have that tattooed on my foot. I have soldier tattooed on my foot, just because, I've soldiered a lot of pain in my life. But the other side to that is, and that's, I guess, an obstacle that I continue to deal with, and I
Yes.
probably will, is that, again, the whole judgment thing. And people will think, well, is she really that sick? Is she, even sometimes too, how do I say this? My kids are so amazing, but their whole life I tried to protect them from this. And protect them meaning, there were times where I'd be in the hospital not knowing how long I was going to be in the hospital, because the doctors always told me, oh, a couple days would come. Can I go home? No, maybe another day or two. And they just kept doing that.
Yeah.
So, and my daughter at the time was young. I remember I said she was almost 2. And so I told my husband, don't tell her I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I never told the kids.
Yeah,
I would lie and say I'm on a business trip. I would call them every day, the kids, anytime I was in the hospital, call, whether they're at daycare, whatever, I would call.
Yeah.
And it was always, Mommy,
Touch base.
Mommy, when are you coming home? Mommy,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I protected them. And I still do, and they're adults. I still do it. I don't, honestly, I didn't tell them that I was in the hospital the other day. I don't want to stress them
And that's
out.
still an obstacle that you're dealing with, because it's the protection. It's that line
Mama bear,
in you.
right.
Yeah.
Mama bear.
Right?
I'm
protecting your loved ones at all costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, so
Right.
that is
Yeah.
a continued obstacle, right?
Continue for sure. So, I mean, this is a big one, and it's important you come to a realization about things sometimes in your life whereby it's almost like an epiphany. You just change up all of a sudden. You flip the script. When did you come to a point when you realized that you needed to share this story? Right? Something
right.
happened. Did someone, was it a situation that happened? What was it?
So, yes, something did happen. A situation did happen. A few months ago, I was coming out of somewhere, and this person, for lack of a better term, called me a Crohn's infested blah, 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 in front of all these people.
Oh my God. Mm-mm.
Was I embarrassed? Nope.
That's horrible.
Was I ashamed? Nope. I actually turned around and laughed and walked away.
So to be able to do that, like before, would you have been able to do that?
No, I would have broke down crying, falling on the ground. But no, for what? This person doesn't mean anything to me. And for you to say something like that to somebody, there's obviously something wrong.
But it shows more about that person.
It shows more about that, right? That has nothing to do with me. And you know
but
what?
It also shows now how much stronger you are.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Like this person could never break me. Crohn's has hurt me so much in life that I can now stand tall and say, you know what? I've got thick skin. Just do that.
Right.
Get up, brush your shoulders off, and just keep it moving. And that's what I did.
Right.
And
I know you want to talk about it.
I thought to myself, there has to be a positive in this. So I decided to go public with my story, and here I am.
No, I remember when I was starting this, you told me, you said, Natalie, I want to do an interview. I want you to interview me. I want to talk about this. You just felt you were compelled that you needed to get it out there.
Exactly. Right? And if I help one person, then it's all worth it for me.
Absolutely
That's it. And I'm sure somebody is going to know someone that has Crohn's.
There's a lot of people out there. I didn't know about it until you actually told me about your dealing with it. And I've heard more about it. Like I know quite a few people that have it. And they must be dealing with a lot of this.
It's amazing how many people I know that have it, and they only found out after I mentioned that I had it, and then all of a sudden, this one person in particular was like, "Oh, I have Crohn's." I was like, "Really? Oh my gosh!"
So it's probably more common than we know.
It's Now, whether it's actually Crohn's or colitis, or even some people have irritable bowel syndrome, which is not as serious as Crohn's or colitis, but
they're connected.
Yes. They're connected in some way. Yeah, still bowel problems and abdominal issues and whatnot. So
we talked a lot about, some of your things that you do on a daily basis to help yourself dealing with it, but I don't think we really got into the crux of it, but what are some of the things that you best feel that helped you? And again, it's not about it's going to help everybody or this is for everybody. It's how do you keep yourself under control? How do you keep your flare-ups? I mean, you've been dealing with it for over 20 years now, so and you've had how many flare-ups?
I've lost count.
But you
and I've flared back to back as well, which is not good. So I've had 2 flare-ups within a matter of about 2.5, 3 months.
So, but
in hospital a week each time.
Right. So, but there's a lot of hours in the day, and there's a lot of days in the year. So, how do you deal with it on a regular basis? How do you keep it under control as best as you can?
Well, it is hard, but the number one thing is I have to limit stress, try to keep stress under control as much as possible. They say exercising as well, which exercising obviously will help stress, but exercise is just good for you, anybody, whether you have Crohn's or not. Diet, though, is probably the most important. I have to admit, I'm not the best at,
you treat yourself. You can treat yourself sometimes.
Anyone who knows me knows I love my red wine. Sorry, in the hospital I actually asked them to put wine in the IV, and I'd be all better. They think I'm totally nuts, but of course it's just tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, I see, really? Yeah, it's a joke.
But,
it's a joke.
Joke, yes.
Yeah.
Don't try this at home. So you know what? The diet is the most important thing because what you put in will affect you. As well, like I said before, when I'm flaring, I have to eat a certain way. And that certain way is actually not necessarily all that healthy. So, like I was saying, white rice instead of brown rice, that kind of thing. Things that are easier to digest. Because you want to keep the intestines from working too hard. It needs to settle down.
Well, we're always hearing to eliminate those kind of things. But those are things that are necessary for
when I'm flaring. After I first had my first bowel resection, I bought a book called Breaking the Vicious Cycle. I forget the name. It was a doctor who wrote the book because her daughter was diagnosed with colitis.
Okay. Say it again so everybody hears.
It's called Breaking the Vicious Cycle. Now this was back in 1995, so maybe there are updated versions. I don't know.
Probably.
But that particular book helped me a lot. I made all the recipes from it, like everything from spaghetti, chicken, to carrot cake made with almond flour, and it helped. So I wasn't going to the washroom as much and whatnot. It was just very difficult and very expensive to keep that up.
Right.
So, and I couldn't put on an ounce of weight. I was still so skinny. this is 1 year after my first surgery, and I'm still 100 pounds. Like,
wow.
It just got to a point where I sort of had to just abandon all of that, and I just said, you know what? This is life, and I have to have some quality of life. I love food. I love to eat. I love to cook. I'm just gonna eat things in moderation, and that's what I did. I was a lot happier doing it. Yes, I go to the washroom a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
that's how, I mean, you had to find a way for you to be able to live with it.
Yeah,
and for you, I mean, we love food. We, love good food.
And I'm not one. When I'm sick, I need to eat. Yeah. There are some people who just don't eat.
I'm the same way.
No, give me the food.
Listen, whenever the hospital, anybody asks me if I need anything,
bring me food.
Bring me some oxtail, rice and peas.
I'll tell you.
No, Natalie, as a nurse would say, you can't have that.
I'll tell you a quick story. So one time I went to emerge with a flare-up. I was in the hallway on a stretcher, and as soon as my mother heard, I called her, whatever, and so she rushed to the hospital. And before she came, though, she said, "Do you need anything?" I said, "Yes, bring me some food." My mother brought stewed snapper and rice and peas, and I ate it in the hallway inside Merge right on the stretcher. And when you have Crohn's and you go into the hospital, first thing they say is nothing by mouth. You can't drink water, can't eat ice chips, no food, nothing, because in case you have to have surgery.
Yes, of course.
I ate that fish like it was my last meal.
Yum.
The nurses looked at me like, you are insane. But,
you're funny.
Yeah.
Well,
but it made me feel better.
It made you feel better.
It did.
Yeah.
So.
And in the end, you have so much, hard times, so many hard times and negativity that you're dealing with, that sometimes food just is good for your soul sometimes.
Yeah, it's comfort, you know?
It's comfort, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've learned a lot. You have certainly shed some light on this Crohn's disease and you dealing with it as a strong woman. I mean, you are continuously dealing with it. There's a lot of people out there that are dealing with it. And as you said, you've learned about a lot of people that you didn't know that, what, you have it too? I've learned a lot about a lot of people that have it. So in closing, for viewers out there, what would you like to say? What piece of advice would you give to someone that's dealing with the stigma of, having Crohn's and not wanting to talk about it because of what people are going to think, what people are, going to say? Like, what would you say to them if they're struggling with this?
I would say, don't let the disease define you. This is the battle that was given to you. Take it one day at a time, and don't be ashamed of it. Talk about it. If anyone makes you feel less than or like you have the plague, then get rid of them. They don't deserve to be anywhere near you.
That housekeeping.
Thank you. Take that garbage out. Kick it to the curb. So just talk about it and just tell your truth. Be honest. And it's healing.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely healing.
Very, very healing. Yeah.
Talking about, and this is, why I am doing High Heel Diaries. It's all about, getting women to open up and talk about their stories, and when they talk about them, it's therapeutic for them. And anybody else that's listening, it's educational, it's inspirational, and empowering. So I want to thank you all. Thank you, Georgia. I just want to tell you, you're a very strong, brave, beautiful woman.
Thank you.
I admire you.
And I admire you. You are my hero.
Thank you. And this is how we're following people and helping them to inspire others. We are inspiring women one story at a time. So I just wanted to tell you viewers that there's a lot happening, and you can find everything on my website, www.highheeldiaries.com. Don't forget, heel is H-E-A-L. That's how you're going to find my site, because it's all about healing. And yes, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Please like, subscribe to my videos if you find them interesting. Please go onto my website and comment, please, and send me some information if you want me to talk about another story, or if you just want to share and have me respond to you. It's very empowering what's happening here, and I want everybody to take that from my videos. Okay, so everybody, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again.